What is up, guys and girls? Hurricane Liz here, and on this video I give you an update into the start of the second month of my Amazon FBA Wholesale automation store. So I think you're going to be excited to see the results and see how a real business gets built over time. And I'm not talking about some drop shipping store that just gets thrown up and lures you into all these riches. No, I'm talking about how a long-lasting wholesale store that will stand the tests of time gets built out over time. So I'm super fired up to show you these results. I hope you're fired up. Let's do this. All right, like I said before, this is more or less a long-term thing, so it's going to be built slowly over time, and most importantly because we do have to age the store. And while we're barely at the 1 month point of selling, there has been a couple months in the making of this store. And particularly, I'll give you a quick recap on that. We had to open up the store, which takes a bit of time. We had to ungate several categories in the store, which can take upwards of a month. And then we had to source and ship the products into Amazon to get the ball rolling. So that really puts us almost at the third full month of what's been going on. Now, with this third full month, you're going to see the results here in a minute. But it's important to remember the goal of this store. And Bill Gates said this best: we overestimate what we can do in 1 year and underestimate what we can do in 10. And so I've had some stores that are running with this exact model for over 13 years. And that's what I recommend people do, is think of the longevity of the business instead of the quick riches that you get promised oftentimes. One last thing before I do jump into the store, remember my email is below in case you guys do want to schedule a call or talk about doing this model yourself and or having a team do this for you from A to Z, full-on automation. I can talk about both those options, so the email is again below in the description box. And then last thing I wanted to cover is, before we jump into the meat and potatoes, what kind of obstacles have we seen thus far? First and foremost, the biggest one is this is a brand new store. So I want to remind you that I purposely did that for the case study in this video series, because most of you will be starting with a new store as opposed to an aged store, which will really hit the ground running and crush it pretty quickly. So keep that in mind. Also, there was a batch of products that we did send in, and that was our initial batch where Amazon held them for over 5 weeks before it properly dispersed them. So I'll quickly explain what usually happens in that case. There are times where Amazon has you ship everything together all at once to one of their warehouses, and then they decide what amount of units is going to different warehouses all over the country. Recently, when that's happened, Amazon has been slow AF to disperse those things, and it takes upwards of 5, even 6 weeks for them to get them at the final warehouse or the final destination and then be put up for sale. So that can kind of really suck for a lot of different reasons, primarily because prices can change rapidly because a lot of people do have the inventory in stock, and a lot of them will get into price wars. So that's the number one thing that sucks. And the number two thing that sucks is that you've already invested all this money, time, and resources into getting the products into Amazon and selling them, and now you've got to wait 5 whole weeks. So that ties up your money, and it ties up a lot of things. And then lastly, possibly one of the biggest lessons a lot of people might not tell you, particularly when you're new, although it sounds really sexy and attractive to use your American Express to fund most of this inventory, I will tell you one thing that I do know about American Express: even though they say sometimes you have an unlimited credit card spend, that's not the case. It's unlimited only for the first 30 days, and after the first 30 days, Amex starts asking a heck of a lot of questions, as well as for a heck of a lot of financial documents. That's happened to me on several occasions. Even on a Amex that already has a certain amount that it's accustomed to spending, they'll do these random checks periodically as the business is growing, particularly if it sees rapid growth and the amount that you charge on the credit card varies greatly from what it did the month before. So you got to watch out for that. So just understand that when you have an unlimited balance with Amex, that's not the case. So be very careful when you do get onboarded with these automation companies and you tell them, oh, I've got $50,000 spending limit. That won't be the case unless you have statistically over time spent $50,000 each and every month with Amex on your card. Keep that in mind. That becomes vitally important, especially when you're looking to scale this store to the moon, right? Because that's where we all want to go, to the moon. All right, so let's take a look at the store and what it overall made. And then we'll talk about the general strategy as well as what kind of strategy we're going to use moving forward. So I'm in Inventory Lab and I'm in the profit and loss section. All right, so this was the first full-on month. You'll notice that it started on the 1st of June and there wasn't really like a lot sent in. In June, the total amount made in sales was 324 sales in total, and the cost of goods was 144. But you notice there was all these seller fees as well as transaction fees, which brought us at a negative 48 cents. So in grand total, it was a whole negative 48 cents made in total. And the other interesting thing is that Amazon held a reserve amount of $140.42. Altogether, not bad considering there's still quite a bit of inventory from that first 15 to 20 days when they finally started to receive it. So not bad at all for being a negative 48 cents for starting the business. Let's take a quick peek at July and see what's happening in July so we can have a better understanding. In July so far, there have been about 10 days or so of sales here. And in total sales now are 800, so that's really good. Even though a lot of things got held that first month, that's part of the reason why the profit wasn't really there. The total amount in expenses, including the cost of goods as well as Amazon selling fees, was $673, which brings us to grand total of so far we're up $120. And Amazon is holding $481. So again, nothing to scoff at, $121. This month will probably finish about $500 in profit. Not bad considering all the hurdles that we have had with this brand new store and the fact that we have not really sent in a tremendous amount of inventory. That's going to be part of our strategy moving forward. So I do look for that to improve vastly, and we'll soon see $1,000 month, which will be fantastic, as well as a $10,000 month and so forth. And again, this store is completely new, so we're aging it very slowly, making sure everything works well. At some point, we're going to ramp that up, and that probably won't be until the start of month 3 or 4 where that'll actually happen. So the one thing that I did want to point out to you is just to know this as a beginner, Amazon always has this reserve put in place depending on how new you are. And usually it will vary depending as well as the health of the store and what has happened in the past. Right now they're holding $500, but this is also one of the reasons that you want to scale slowly, because the more that you make, the higher that amount's going to be. So you might find yourself having to pull from your pocket additional money in order to cover this because of the fact that they're going to hold that for a while. So keep that in mind when you're executing this type of strategy. Other than that, sales have started to be pretty consistent, and we're getting a decent amount of sales per day. There'll be some times where we do run out of one of the key SKUs that is selling. SKU is just another word for product, and so sales won't happen as a result of that. But what we are carrying here, you'll notice that we've now adjusted our strategy, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. There's a bunch of things here. You can't see what the name of it, but it'll say on hand. They say 0, but these just got to Amazon, and they're products that sold previously quite well, and now we've expanded upon that line of products because it's a pretty good indication that it's probably going to sell well too. So let's talk about what that original strategy was before we move forward. That original strategy was nothing more than first testing an initial batch of SKUs, anywhere between 12 and 15, and sending about 3 to 6 units of each and seeing how well those do. Once we see how well those do, we can decide which SKUs we're going to reorder, and then we'll reorder a larger amount. And then the SKUs that remain or haven't sold, we'll start to lower the price in order to just get rid of those and then move into new additional SKUs. So the strategy moving forward is to find those new SKUs that might work in the same capacity that our superstar SKUs did from phase 1. So essentially, all we're really doing right now is adding products and getting rid of the ones that did not sell, and then just adding more and more products of the ones that sell, and then upping the amount of orders on those ones that sell. Now, there will come a point where a number of things can happen with those superstar SKUs. Either they'll no longer be available through the supplier, or the price war will drive the price down to where it becomes not even profitable enough for us to buy them and resend them, and or the manufacturer themselves could decide that they no longer want to allow people to sell it and they want to take over the entire listing themselves. So a number of things can happen, so keep that in mind. As we continue to add brand new SKUs, some will drop off because any one of those reasons, and some reasons that I might not even know of. Now, the other thing that I do want to point out, especially to those people that are brand new, is that notice we didn't take a look at the BSR or how quickly a product sells and see some that were really fantastic, like maybe 1,000 or 2,000 in whatever niche they're in, and then just send a shit ton of them in. We wanted to slowly test to see if it even works. A lot of times beginners can be lured by sending in as many as they see and then getting only to get stuck with the product, and that can happen for many reasons. So always test how much you sent at first and then gradually build your way up. That way you're not spending your entire amount of capital on 1 or 2 SKUs that seem to be superstars and only end up being total duds. Now, the other terrific thing about where we're at and what we look forward to even further developing is the fact that we're now allowed to send in even more SKUs than we originally were. Originally, we were allowed to send in a total of 1,000 products, and that seems to be what most brand new accounts are allowed to send in. However, now I believe the amount of units that we can send in is about 10,000. So we've moved up a couple levels. We moved up first to the 3,000 level, then to the 5,000 level, and now we are finally at the 10,000 level, which again means now Amazon is giving us the green light to ramp this shit up, which is quite exciting. And that's pretty much it. That's a wrap of what's been going on with the store. I do look forward to providing more of these updates to you so you can have a quick peek at what's going on behind the scenes of building this store out over time. And again, I just remind you that my email is below in case you want to talk more about how to do this method yourself, and or you want a recommendation for a full-on automation company. So questions and comments below. I always personally answer those, and I'll see you guys next time.